Daddy, chill.
That, daddies, those are some slurpy beers. And not only are they beers, they're Bears beers, because you've got video today, and you can see I've got lights, I've got water. This is bottled water, because if I were to drink from the tap, I mean, it literally looks like, if I flush the toilets right now, it looks like someone just peed in it, like right away. It looks like someone poopied in it. Oh, speaking of poopy, we've got Peyton Bennett with us for a special edition, the reboot cast, the second of two different kind of podcasts. Wanted to mix it up a little bit for these couple weeks here. So what we're doing is we're coming at you guys with. We had the golf last week that you guys saw. So I got out with Seb, was up in Indiana, got to spend some time with Mr. Peyton Bennett, got to watch we even watched some football together.
Watched a lot of football.
I drove down, watched Caleb Williams. Holy cow, Caleb Williams.
What a guy.
What a guy. Hey, and you know what? He did fine on his bye week. He didn't mess it up. He didn't mess it up. So, what we're going to do today, Peyton and I didn't have anybody else jumping on the cast with me. Peyton and I were talking about playing some games, so we decided we're going to try something new, and we're going to not live stream, but we're going to stream some Rocket League while we do the podcast. This could go absolutely terribly, or it could be incredibly entertaining. We'll have to wait. Peyton, we've been doing daddy dreams lately. I feel like we can't just jump right past it. Well, first off, my daddy dream is, I'll start. My daddy dream is to be back in the podcast chair, which is ironically also my work chair. It's pretty much the only chair I really have in here, but to be back here and doing the cast again. It's been a wild couple of weeks. We did record a cast 2 weeks ago. I lost it in editing because of power and upload issues, and then last week it was super late because of all the travel. Anyway, not making excuses, but the podcast is back. We're back full time, and we're coming at you with the Rocket League. So my daddy dream is to get this cast out to you guys. Patey boy, what's your daddy dream?
My daddy dream this week. We've got a few daddies converging on the Butsich house for the Halloween party this Saturday. Dreaming of getting absolutely plastered with some daddies. So that's my daddy dream.
All right, Peyton, so throwing it back a little bit to a little Malort moment, but I feel like as we load up our first match here and get into this week's match, week 8, got to talk a little bit about college football, don't we?
Yeah, I love college football.
Well, you love college football. I know you guys, you didn't have Ohio State fell behind a little bit, but had a bye week, but in your Oregon week. But yeah. Should we talk about the elephant in the room?
Oh, I think we should.
ILL. Should I say ILL?
I'm surprised you didn't bring back the chat thread.
What chat thread?
The thread where Seb said you have no right to talk.
Michigan couldn't beat the old ILL, and Illinois has a good team, but I think the real issue here is that they're just Michigan's probably just that bad. You guys need a new QB, and who else might need a new QB outside of just Michigan? He's a Michigan fan, and that is Seb. With Connor Stallions, well, Seb's QB right now is Jaden Daniels, but yeah. So, and he's got the Jacksonville Jacks this week with Jordan Love, who has gotten over the injury. But Peyton, let me see. So we've got a decent matchup. Jamar Gibbs had a heck of a week. Really, D-Mont had the fumble and a potential injury, and I'm thinking Jahmyr Gibbs might be the go-to guy, which is unfortunate. Oh, and my own teammate blocked it.
Bad play.
I think you just kind of tore up on Jack, didn't you?
Yeah, Jack had a very off week with me. In fairness, I also had a really good week, so I don't know if that's really anything against the Jacks, but they did not score particularly well.
Well, one other thing to call out here is he's got Devontae Adams. Devontae did not look great in his first Jets matchup, but he's been with the team for how long now?
Very good.
They look about as good as we did, giving up that goal right there.
Mm-hmm. I think the Jets are going to have a bounce back week. I don't think they match up well. The Steelers are just really good, and I don't think anyone expected. Well, I shouldn't have said no one expected. I think it was more so that planning around Russ, who had zero tape from this season, was tough for them. And
Yeah,
I think that was clear because I think people didn't expect Russ to have as strong of an arm as he did. That's kind of how it felt to me. It looks like they were giving up a lot of deep threat balls.
I mean, it was
Pickens also was playing out of his mind, which I never thought I'd say that because Pickens has seemed to be like the perennial, very mediocre, happy receiver.
What am I doing? Yeah, well, so, and he's got, and Devontae just, I mean, I don't know. I don't have the stats right in front of me. Oh no.
That was bad. I saw a very interesting rumor. Again, this was just out of Twitter. I don't know how authentic this rumor is, but rumor has it that that the Vikings have been inquiring about getting goal clat. Vikings have been inquiring about Matt Stafford, of all people.
Interesting.
Which could be a really interesting fit for that offense, I think.
That was embarrassing. Almost as embarrassing as Seb's overall total points scored this year. So I shared, I actually don't think it was in the podcast that I didn't share out. So how this works, I am looking at this on Fantasy Pros. How this works, it gives us all play. So it gives us overall records of your win percentage. So if you were first in the week, you get a win and so on and so forth. So you get wins and losses based on that. Seb himself, who is 5-2 in his actual record, is 12th overall. This in the weighted, the all play, as opposed to Aaron, who sits, and we'll hit on it again, but he's 4-3 and sits in second overall. So just a comparison, and Seb has what, like 100 less points than everybody else. So that being said, and Seb leading our division, it just feels wrong. And he keeps saying to play the matchup, play the matchup that you're dealt.
Play the matchup you're dealt doesn't mean a thing when he's just getting lucky by having low scoring.
By having bad matchups, right? Yeah. Right? And that's kind of how I feel. I mean, last week wasn't a terrible week for him, but he was...
I think
he wasn't the top scoring.
I don't see Seb's team as being like a tenable... Actually, Comeback Story and I were talking about this today, because Comeback was decrying how he has... I forget what his... had some like pretty impressive stats overall, but he's lost quite a few matchups recently. The whole dynamic of, a team like Seb, and I mean, that's just kind of also the nature of fantasy football, but you'll occasionally get teams where they will, I mean, that was my team last year.
All right, so that all being said, yeah, Seb's fallen into some luck, and but right below him in the overall all play is actually Jack, but I'm pulling for Jacksonville Jacks. I think that Devontae Adams has himself a week this week. I think that Cade Otton and Jordan Love's got Jacksonville, and you saw what Caleb Williams was able to do. I think Jordan Love's gonna just continue to. My gosh, you didn't even touch it. So I'm going with the Jacksonville Jacks on this one.
I think I agree with you. The only spot of trouble that I see a brewing for the Jacks is the Bay's down bad right now, and Bucky Irving could have a really big game, kind of one of their few remaining offensive weapons. I don't think they match up close enough that even if Bucky has a really good game, he just needs a good game out of one of his players, and I think Jackson can win it.
And we're back in with a fresh game. We took a dub there, but the podcast took an L for sure. So we had a giant cut in there. But we've got Comeback Story and a new team name. He's switching sides. I don't know if this is directly. I mean, he is in a red state. Being in Indiana, his vote doesn't really matter, even though they say it does. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, because it's make Aaron's team great again. As I just said, in the actual scoring, or an actual record, he's number 2 overall, right behind Curbs. So Aaron, good goal.
Thanks.
Aaron has he's got CJ Stroud. I think he's gonna a good chance for a bounce back week. You never know with CD. I mean, CD's always got a chance to put up points, and Kyron Williams going against a tough, his running back core, as strong as it is, they're going up against a couple tough matchups. Yeah. How about, what do you see here? I have my concerns for Thomas, for Comeback Story's running back core itself.
I do too. I think the big benefit that they have, the big benefit that Thomas's team has, is he's got A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts going up against the Cincinnati defense, which is, I think, the last ranked or maybe like second to last ranked defense in the entire NFL right now. Go for it, Clat. I mean, if I was Thomas, I'd feel pretty good about those two guys. And across the board, I just think in general, there's a lot of matchups that Aaron has on his team. But same for Thomas. I think this is going to be a really tight game. I do think Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are going to kind of feast, though. Jay Stroud, he's been kind of looking down, a little bit lost the last couple of games. So if he has a bounce back, that could give Aaron a much-needed boost. I have Thomas's team in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm gonna go against you on this one just because Aaron needs a win. He deserves a good win, and Thomas's team has, outside of his stack, his Jalen Hurts stack, I have concerns for his team. I don't see as much strength as I did a couple weeks ago. A struggling San Francisco team who defenses are starting to find out how to shut down Jordan Mason a bit, just like you just shut down that goal, man. So I'm gonna go with Aaron on this one. I think that Aaron he needs a dub, and
yeah, it's
and I think he's gonna get it. I think he's gonna get it.
That's been a tough losing streak for him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with how dominant he was looking early on, you don't expect that at this point. In this season.
Yeah, and he's we got 7-0 Kirby Cox over there. So, yep, we got a split here. Oh, you took my goal.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. This matchup's getting a little out of hand. Just like I think this next one could be the opposite of out of hand. We got the G Train Rats. So we got Glenny T and Just Here for Beer, one of my trade partners this year. Peyton, I'll get this ball, and why don't you give us an initial look up at what you're seeing here?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I'm concerned about for the G Train Rats is kind of relying, for most of his success so far this season has been built around his stack of Baker Mayfield, Evans. But Mike Evans, I don't know if they've announced how long he's going to be out. I assume he'll be out for a while since he had...
Yeah, he was battling that injury, and then
he had that hammy injury
yep.
on Monday. So I think that's going to be a big concern. I don't know if Glenn's going to be able to resurrect. I think he was averaging probably like 50 points with those two alone in a stack. So I don't know if he's going to be able to get that. I don't know how good Baker's going to be without any real offensive weapons. So I think from that point, that's definitely a concern for Glenny's team. And just across the board, Glenn's team, John could have a good week off against Tampa Bay. Their run defense in general has always been pretty decent. So that could be a tough one.
Woo. Yep.
I also think looking at an Eckler facing off against Chicago, I believe #1 defense in the league right now. So I think that Austin's going to get shut down a bit. This could be a potential for our dear buddy Taylor to get a much needed win as well. I think this one, to your point, Blake, could get very out of hand.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't see Glenn had, like you said, set up for a really good team. But the Nico Collins injury hurt him, and then I wouldn't even say mismanagement, just contentment with his roster, I think has led him into this spot, as opposed to Taylor, who's taken a few lofty shots there. And I'll be curious to see, is he gonna roll with Sam Darnold? It looks like he is over Dak, because and I think that's probably the right call.
I think
probably
that is
the right
a good
call.
call.
I think if Jonathan Taylor plays, this one's an easy win definitely an easy win
good goal,
for.
Flat.
Thank you. An easy win for Just Here for the Beer, but I'm going Just Here for the Beer. He's 2-5. I know he's not feeling the best, but I think he can get back in this one. It will be good. Will be one of the lesser watch matchups, I think. And we won by forfeit, and I think Glenn might forfeit that matchup.
Agreed.
So, all right, Peyton. We're switching up game modes here as we get into the latter half of our matchups. We're playing some hoops because I think basketball starts soon. I know hockey's, oh my gosh, and we're going to be just as bad at this as we are at actual basketball. But I know this guy likes basketball, and Vic is, we've talked about these all-time all-play rankings, and if you want to talk about someone who actually has had some pretty unfortunate luck, it's actually Vic. Vic he's 2-5. But his team, I mean, he's got Lamar, and it was an early take, and we all gave him crap for it. But the reality is, Lamar has possibly already defined himself as MVP. As long as he doesn't totally butcher
odds
it.
MVP right now.
Yep. Hey, good basket,
Thanks.
basket, bud. And so Vic is actually an all play. He's actually just one above me, which his win last week helped. But he's one above me at 4th place overall. So Vic's team. He's got an interesting stack of Zay Flowers and Lamar, but he's got the Bald Bison this week, who overall, just to give everybody perspective on all play, Bald Bison, about where their actual record shows, 10th overall. He's 3-4. So who are you taking for this one, Pate?
I think I'm taking Vic and Bald Bison's team. Looking at it, he's got a few key players, but I mean, when you see Zach Charbonnet as his RB2, that's not boding well for, I think, his season in general, but this matchup in particular. I think Vic has actually, been scoring some pretty legit points. I think he's probably one of the top scorers, right?
You absolutely walloped on him last week, unfortunately, for a battle of the bottom at the time.
2 weeks ago, I believe.
2 weeks. Sorry, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, last week was me.
Yeah, so I feel like Bald Bison's, I probably wasn't captured in the cast, but those teams that I just feel like whenever I see Matt's roster, I'm impressed that he's been able to make it to 3-4, just because I don't think that his team is very good. And I don't mean that as a affront to my dear friend Matt Kreutzer. I just mean it as similar to what Seb was saying. He plays the matchups, finds ways to win.
He plays, but Matt's not playing the matchups. Am I right?
I think the biggest issue for Matt this week is that, in general, I think that team is just a little bit too high-powered him to be able to squeeze out a win. Cousins, I think, been playing really well. I don't know if he matches up super well against...
Well, he's got Tampa Bay, and it's going to be a must-win week for Tampa Bay.
Exactly. And I don't know if he matches up great against their defense. Tampa Bay's defense has been pretty good. I mentioned in, I think, an earlier matchup we talked about. I like their defense. I think their defense matches up well against Falcons in particular. And yeah, definitely, I think Tampa Bay is going to be looking for a comeback week. The struggle bus that they've been on.
Anybody out of the NFC South is going to. There's no doubt that it's going to have to be a win the conference, because they're just so poor, right? There's no. Yeah. I don't think we're going to see a lot of wild cards coming out of that.
Yeah, I agree. So I think for Matt, it's just going to be a question of, does Bijan play really, really well? I don't know if he does. Ross St. Brown, I think, could have a good game. I think outside of that, Matt's kind of just hoping on having a few decent players put it together. Nobody that's like a superstar status. Whereas I think for Vic, having Lamar and Zay Flowers, performing week last week for Zay Flowers just because he was injured.
Yeah, he was limited snaps, it seemed like.
Snaps, yeah. I think he got injured in the first quarter. So I think that Zay is going to have a better week this week. Yeah, across the board, I just feel like Vic's probably got this one in the bag.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think if Vic is able to pull himself together and I assume he's gonna put Sam Laporta back in there, and maybe DeAndre Swift. So won't be probably Zach Charbonnet for Matt, but still, I think Vic is also due for some much due wins. You've kind of gotten yours, and I think it's time that Vic gets his. Would love to see Vic maybe keep it a little bit more competitive, just like we're trying to keep this game competitive. If Vic can make some moves, I'm not sure even how he would do it. He'd have to get creative, and he's not one to be in there. I would have some concerns with George Kittle being potentially questionable.
Yeah.
But on top of that, if CMC comes back, if that San Francisco team can get healthy, then I would worry about Kittle's utilization. But right now, Kittle has been putting up some big boy numbers here in the tight end game. So I'm also going to go with Vic on this one. Sorry, Matt. I don't think it's your week, but I hope Kirk Cousins keeps feeding Drake London.
Yep. Vic, if you listen to the podcast, this is a good test for you. Vic, if you listen to the podcast, reply in the chat, because the fact that you're not on the trade boards right now, you've got some good guys that you could probably get some high value for. So I would be trading, Vic. Look at opportunities to trade, because I think that you could really have
a
stronger team.
All right, Peyton, let's get into some spooky, scary matchups here, both in Rocket League and also in fantasy. And one thing that's spooky scary is my name change. I would have to say, we've got the Asheville Hurricanes. Might be a temporary. We'll have to see. But I think it's halftime. I think we got to bear down, because we've got kind of a Bears matchup here, and honestly, a pretty good one. Competitive for matchup of the week. I would call this matchup of the week 2.0. 4-3 Chicago Dogs versus kind of a battle for first place, assuming Seb can take the L. I'm bearing down across the board. But you know what? I want your feedback first. Why don't you? What do you see for this matchup? Two of your golfing buddies. We went out and played Legends. It was a great time.
I think across the board, it's kind of a funny matchup because I see a lot of parallels between both your teams, where I see big opportunities, but also big potential pitfalls. I said last time I think I was on the pod regarding Brandon's team. It's very much like feast or famine for him. If Anthony Richardson has a good game, I feel like Brandon, I need to start that over.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I know I've said this before on the pod, but I think for Brandon's team, it's very feast or famine, it seems. And I think he'd be the first to admit that if Richardson is having a good game and he plays up to the standard that I think Brandon expected of him when he drafted him, I think that Brandon's team looks really, really good. Unfortunately, though, Anthony Richardson has shown himself to be both a very, very good football player and a very, very bad football player. So depending on, who they get this week.
Well, they've got Houston,
which could be, could be in their favor. They could play pretty well against Houston. We'll see. Houston's been kind of a team without an identity. Good goal. A team without an identity the last few games. Speaking of the Bears, see North teams, is Demont Blake? Do you know? Because I know he was injured.
No, he was injured in game, but there's been no questionable action for him, so it looks like he's good to go. He left in the middle of the game, then had that fumble, and then he kind of just sat down because Jahmyr Gibbs was his first touchdown list. I might have to. I don't want to give him pure threats. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Just wanted to give you a little kiss.
I feel that.
Yeah, but whoa, what is this thing?
It's this rectangular skeleton. Ball.
It's a rectangular.
So I think Demont being in, I think helps you a lot. Obviously, Blake. I will say I think Kareem Hunt's going to have a crazy game. Always matches up terribly against Kansas City, Vegas. I feel like their defensive team is going to start giving up here. Their season's lost, especially ever since they decided to trade Devontae. It'll be their first week playing without Devontae. I think if I was a defensive player there, I'd be giving 75% because it's what am I putting my body on the line for if we're not actually expecting to perform?
Unless you're trying to get a paycheck or get
exactly and keep yourself healthy maybe for the next team if you think that Vegas isn't the long term. I mean, I've heard Max Crosby has already started to check out a little bit because he's expecting to get a big pickup from a team that'll pay him. So I think Kareem Hunt's going to have a really good game. So I would say I think if Anthony Richardson can have a good game, Kareem Hunt goes off, I think I like the dogs for this matchup. That said, that's a lot of ifs. So I think I have to go with the Asheville Hurricanes just for the sake that I think that your team just looks a little bit more stable. Is less reliant on a player having a really, really big game or having a really successful game.
Yeah.
Off for them.
Yeah. My team has been, since the recent trade, my trade with Taylor, I mean, in the past few weeks, I've been top in the scoring, which has been really nice, except for last week. And that's because, CJ Stroud and Houston really were on the struggle bus last week. But outside of that, I was still in the middle of scoring, and Demont had his fumble, but, KW3 and Chuba Hubbard, doing well. And I got the Bears defense back. I think Caleb Williams against Washington, even though Washington, with or without Jaden Daniels, good team this year. But I still think that Caleb Williams, he's still got something to prove. He's got some stuff to show. And the Bears are well in this hunt. And the city of Chicago is back and behind them. Obviously, I'm going Canes on this one. That wasn't clear enough.
Go Canes.
Go Canes. It's also a little bit of a nod to my new Carolina. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes here. Our hockey team.
Aren't they?
All right, Peyton. In this spooky matchup, which we're going to play another one of these. This little pumpkin guy in limited boost. It's a good time. We've got 30 seconds left. It's going to be a close one. And I also think that another close one, maybe. I don't know. You've been hot lately, man. You've got the hot hands. I had a nice little 4-week winning streak. My gosh. Oh, no.
What a say.
If Boylan does that to you this week, because that's your matchup, then, Boylan, to say someone is due, that man is due. Let's talk about our number one point scorer in seasons 1 and 2. And then this year, bottom of the barrel, man. Bottom of the barrel. bottom of the
talking
barrel.
about season 1 and 2. We're talking about season 3 now, buddy.
We are, and post trade.
Actually, we're season 4 now, aren't we?
We're in season 4. You can see the champs behind here. Yeah. But you've got Joey B going on Philly, Najee Harris against the Giants. That's big. Joe Mixon in Indy. I'd feel good for that one if I was you. Garrett Wilson seemed to not be as affected. We'll see how that goes. But Mark Andrews, as long as he seemed to be back in Lamar's favor.
He went off. Yeah,
he went off.
That'll be a big choice for me between Cole Kmet and Mark Andrews. Garrett Wilson, I will say, was getting a lot of targets, so that's the upside. More targets than I expected him to get. He just didn't reel them in, so hopefully he doesn't get on Aaron Rodgers' shit list because of that, since he dropped a couple kind of crucial catches.
But okay, flipping over to Chris's side, Kyler against Miami could have a big week, and I'm just playing a little devil's advocacy for you here. So he's got the Kyler Marvin Harrison stack, and he's got Nick Chubb, and man, with Deshaun actually being out, I mean, I actually was not really aware that he wasn't playing at all this season. Yep. I thought he had actually been on injury because that's just how bad they've been. But Nick Chubb, it's gonna be a run game for them. So I think that if you've got some favorable matchups here, but if Chris is going to get back on the horse, this is a big matchup for both you guys this week. For him to kind of avoid bottom of the barrel, and for you to try and reestablish yourself as a playoff.
Give me to 500.
Team. Yeah. So when I look at, but your guys' projected points as is, I'm going to be really curious to see how Joey B does for you. And if Amari ends up doing more, he did get the touchdown last week, but didn't have a whole lot else action outside of that.
Yeah, and I will say the projected matchup, I still have J.J. Smith-Schuster in my flex, and he's going to be getting swapped out, hopefully with a big waiver wire pickup that I'm hoping to get.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Man, you've got to be just itching for Puka to come back, hey?
Oh, yeah. And allegedly, last I heard, they're saying week 9 or 10 for him. So he could be back here in the next couple weeks.
Or he could be out the rest of the season.
You never know. Excited to see what happens there. But the nice thing is I feel like my wide receiver core has settled down, especially now that Amari's outside of Cleveland. So much better about Amari as my wide receiver too. Garrett Wilson, I think, has the opportunity to continue to establish himself. The Jets, hoping that with a couple more practice reps with Devontae, they're able to start to scheme Garrett Wilson open a little bit more. I already saw that a lot. Monday night game, he was just open much more than he had been. He didn't have to kind of carry the load of being wide receiver 1. So I'm hoping that's what Garrett Wilson's reality looks like. That said, I wouldn't lie to you if I didn't say I was a little scared to play Dylan's team. He's he's a good manager, always has been. Gotten unlucky the last couple of matchups he's had, and I do feel like he's due. So I like myself in the matchup, but I think it's going to be. I don't think that Boylan's going to lay an egg. I think it's going to get pretty close.
Yeah, I think I'm going to tend to agree with you. I think that the biggest question mark, like overall, when you look at the lineups, I definitely like your lineup better. And I think that you're evening yourself out with the Amari Cooper and Garrett Wilson. And I think I'm going to give this one to you too, even though I do think that, I don't know what Boylan's overall approach is going to be, if he's going to be just looking to salvage the season or, there's still time to turn around. We're at that point right now where anybody could turn around at any time. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm gonna go with you on this one.
Thanks.
All right, Peyton. It's time. We're throwing it back. I'm here for beer. Got myself a little PBR. Feeling like college again. We're playing Black Ops. Call of Duty. We're doing Nuketown, too. We're really throwing it back. And this is fitting for us to switch to this for the matchup of the week, because Curbs is down here training, being an officer. He's 7-0. You can tell he's not been having to put out many fires because his team is on fire. He is the fire, as he is ripping through. He's setting a new record. I don't know how long he'll go, but we'll see. So fitting, we got him. And then we've got him versus Team Keegs, which also is fitting.
Because we're gonna shoot people.
Well, you said it, not me. But yeah, we got this matchup of the week, and as we play this good old Nuketown, I don't know what we're gonna get. This is gonna be even worse, I'm sure, than the last Rocket League. But we've got Peyton. I'll start us off with the QBs, then I'll give you the running backs. Josh Allen v. Patrick Mahomes. A couple years ago, if you told me that this matchup was coming, fantastic, right? Regardless of head-to-head but this year, Patrick Mahomes has their defense has gotten Kansas City also 7-0, just like Sir Cox, or 6-0, 7-0, undefeated, just like Sir Coxlop, but not because of Patrick Mahomes. If anything, in spite of maybe, just their defense has gotten it done for him. Patty has been having a rough year, but I could see a good bounce back for him against Las Vegas. But we got Josh Allen versus Seattle, and Josh Allen's still putting up Josh Allen points. I'm giving this edge to Team Kings. What do you see in those running backs?
Yeah, I think running back wise, we got number 3 overall, Saquon Barkley, who's been having a hell of a year, facing off against Breece Hall. I think both of those guys are having monstrous seasons so far. I think I like Saquon in this matchup because if it's not been apparent enough, I think the Bengals defense is dog shit. And so just across the board, I feel like Saquon's just going to feast. So I like Saquon in this matchup.
So shoot it straight with me. How do you feel about your your offense this year? Because we've got T. Higgins and Lad McConkey, and Cooper Kupp allegedly back this week, and Terry McLaurin. So Cooper Kupp coming back for Sir Coxlot could be absolutely huge.
Could be.
I think if he plays and Cooper Kupp gets the utilization, and Matt Stafford, according to the trade rumors, but Matt Stafford stays there, Cooper Kupp gonna just be the absolute beast that Cooper Kupp is. I think I'd give the edge here to giving the edge back to Sir Coxlot. What do you think here? How do you feel about T. Higgins?
I think T has had a really good season. I think he's overperformed compared to what you'd expect of him, Jamar Chase being there. That said, I do think his ceiling is definitely much lower because of Jamar Chase being there. So I like Cooper Kupp here. I think he's coming back. He's going to be healthy. I think that Cooper Kupp is definitely up here.
Yep. Then we got Travis Kelce and Hunter Henry. Travis Kelce, showing signs of life. It's not all over here for Travis Kelce. And Hunter Henry, I don't know. What are you feeling for these tight ends?
Yeah, I think Hunter Henry's going to win out just because Kelce's been. I think Kelce this season is. I think he's 1 year past due for retirement. He's not
retirement.
Yeah,
I think he needs to settle down with Taylor, doesn't he?
Yeah, I feel like he's just more concerned about his post NFL career than he is his current NFL career at this point. I think he's just kind of holding on for one more ring. They might get him, but in general, I don't feel like
one more ring. Defense kickers. Let's wrap this one up. Defense kickers. Steelers, Niners against Dallas. What do you see in this one? You going Keeks or Cox?
Who are the Steelers playing?
Steelers are playing the Giants, and we got the 49ers versus Dallas. So,
I think I would take the Steelers for sure here against the Giants. The Giants' offense is as awful as we all thought they would be at the start of the season. The 49ers, I think, can still do a little damage. I also think Dallas is a sad team that I'm not a fan of them for several reasons.
Yeah. And then Chase McLaughlin, Chris Boswell. I have a hard time choosing against Chase McLaughlin, but when you got Boswell going against the Giants, you're seeing a lot of points given up there. Yeah. I'm going to give that one over to Keegs. And what are you leaning toward in the overall matchup?
I think Cox is going to pull off an 8-0. I think he's just too good. His team, I think I had mentioned to you, Blake, I feel like unless he gets some serious injuries, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to beat him.
And, he got the injuries. He's got the potential injuries with Godwin and Jacoby Meyer. But, he gets Cooper Kupp back.
Yep.
It's going to be hard to take Cox down. But I've been going against the odds here most of this podcast. So I'm going Keegs.
Just want to see an upset?
I want to see an upset. I love Kirby. Love you, man. But you need a little humble pie, and it would be good to see Keegs dish that out.
I don't disagree. That would be fun. Curb is serving our country somehow.
Well, aren't we in a roundabout way serving our country here right now?
That's true. I don't know where Nuketown is and who I'm supposed to be killing, but this seems patriotic in some way.
Oh, it's definitely patriotic.
Cool.
I think that does it. That's the game podcast. We'll see. I don't know. It could be mildly entertaining. You might just listen and wonder why we're struggling so much. So what? Put it on 2 times. I mean, I guess to say that at the end, but whatever. Hey, I love you, Peyton. I love playing some games, and I love this fantasy football league. Every one of these guys, win or lose, it's just an absolute blast. I'm happy to be back and kicking again. Back and kicking. Water, electricity, the necessities. And the Asheville Hurricanes, we're here for you. Peyton, thanks for jumping on today.
Always happy to.
Games. What you got any lasting words for the boys?
Hey, keep on keeping on, fellas. Stay out of the way.
Keep on keeping on, stay out of the way. That is something. All right, gents. We will be back next week. On behalf of Aaron, good luck.